Hi, welcome to Trumas Games. My name is Alex. We haven't done a video in a very long time. I think it's been just under a year or maybe just over a year since our last video. And in this video, I'm going to talk about why and what happened, I guess, in the meantime. I mean, it's been a pretty crazy year, 2020, for most parts of the world, and for me, it hasn't been an exception. But the reason why I haven't actually been doing videos for a little over a year started a bit earlier than COVID did. And I'm going to talk about it right now. Before I do this, however, we have hit 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel a couple of weeks ago. So I would like to say a big thank you to all of you who did subscribe and interested in my further videos. I'm going to hope from now on that I can put out at least one video every month, but I can't promise anything at the moment. Things are a bit crazy and a bit hectic. Anyway, the reason that I haven't been making videos and I also haven't managed to publish any books in about a year. Yes, I do actually publish books. They're all available on DriveThruRPG, and they're mainly, for those who don't know, sort of guides for other game masters. I'll put a link in the description below the video. You can take a look at all that. But anyway, the reason why I haven't been doing videos or books is that I've actually started running games as a professional game master in, I think it was August 2019. So I've been doing it for about a year and a half now, as of the date of this video, and I've actually been doing it full time. I was a bit hesitant up until now to talk about this at all in social media forums and so on, because I'm aware that a lot of people out there, maybe even a lot of you watching this video, do not really agree with professional game mastering. There seems to be a lot of issues that people have with that. But eventually I thought, what the hell? I try to be open about as much as I can in my life. So why not be open about this too? So basically in this video, I'm going to talk about how I started becoming a professional game master and sort of how it works. And I guess answer the possibly most common question that I get asked when I tell people that I'm a professional game master. Well, when I tell those people who know what a game master actually is that I'm a professional game master. Anyway, for the rest of the people, it's just like, you're doing what? How does this work? You can make money from this? Okay. That's the sort of reaction I usually get. But anyway, so how did I start? Basically, as with any other game master, and as with any other person who is really passionate about the hobby of role-playing games, I guess, I started with running a lot of games for my friends and sort of university friends and so on. And I organized sort of monthly meetings for the local community, like the local role-playing community. We met in a pub just to talk about role-playing games, which then turned into a second monthly meeting where we actually rented a room, and I organized a couple of game masters to run one-shots in different systems, and that got quite popular. And then I ran a hugely successful, well, together with 3 other game masters, that is, but I was sort of the organizing force behind it, I guess. I ran a hugely successful West Marches D&D campaign, which had about, I think, about 30 players or so, maybe in total closer to 40, some where people are coming and going. And that was as I said, a West Marches D&D campaign that was extremely successful and ran for about a year and a half and served to sort of, I guess, make the local community much more knit together, introduce people to one another, and also spawned a lot of like private gaming groups, which I'm pretty happy with. I've already talked about the experience of running a campaign with that many players in another video, so I'll put the link to that if you're interested in the description below the video as well. And then after that campaign, or sort of during the campaign, people kept coming up to me and said, oh, we've heard that you're doing really cool games, and I have a bunch of friends that always wanted to play but didn't get the chance yet. Can you run like a one-shot for us? Or I'm really interested in playing like a campaign of this and this. Have you ever thought about running something like that? And for a while, I sort of did run one-shots for people, not campaigns necessarily, but yeah, a lot of one-shots to sort of introduce people to the hobby and all that. But eventually, the amount of people that were coming to me just became too big. Like I was running, I don't know, 2 games a week, maybe sometimes 3 games a week, and all the while also trying to obviously earn money and all the other things and write books, which was already then a part of earning money for me. So it just got too much. So I realized that there was one of two options available for me. Either I focused on my business side of things, like my proper job, I guess, and cut down on role playing significantly so I could actually survive and pay my bills like everyone has to, right? Or I could continue running games and maybe run even more games, but ask people to pay for them, basically, if people were interested. And I asked my acquaintances and their friends and like potential player pool that I had, I guess, in this local city of mine here. And most of them said, yeah, that sounds cool. We'll give it a try, see how it goes. And pretty much that's how the whole thing started. So in a way, I don't really run games to make money. In a way, I make money to run more games. I think that's a pretty good way of putting it, really. And I think the local community, especially before COVID, obviously, has actually profited from what I'm doing. Quite a bit, I hope, anyway. So how does it work for me at the moment? At the moment, I'm running, I think it was 8 campaigns and a few one-shots here and there with different themes. So that comes to about 4 to 5 sessions a week, which is about as much as I can handle. Each session is about 4.5, sometimes 5 hours long. And usually for each player, depending on the total amount of players and the length of the session, it's about $20 per session, which I think is a fair price, especially compared to things like going to the cinema, which I guess is not possible now anyway, and so on. And I have a little gaming room set up with like fantasy decoration and a nice big table and all that sort of stuff, where we usually play. And of course, nowadays everything's online on Discord and Roll20 and things like that, because we're due to quarantine and things like that. We can't meet up in person, but it sort of works quite well, actually, surprisingly well in a way. At the moment, I am pretty booked out. As I said, about 4 to 5 sessions a week is as much as I can handle, but occasionally I do have slots open. So in case you are interested in having me run a game for like you and the group of your friends, I can run games in German or English. And as I said, the price is about $20 per player. So I generally run things like D&D, Call of Cthulhu, like Warhammer, D100 sort of things, and similar games. But I've run probably dozens of different role-playing games in the future, in the past, I mean. And I'll probably be running far more in the future. Here's hoping, anyway. So you can contact me if you like, and we can see if we can work something out. But now let's talk about probably the most common question anyway, that I receive when I tell people about my professional game mastering. And that question is, how has your experience changed? How does the game change from a professional game master as opposed to like an ordinary, so to speak, game master? Or if you want to put it with a little more animosity, which I've also experienced a fair bit, what makes you worth of earning money by game mastering? The answer is a little tricky, really. I can't say that I'm the greatest game master in the world by any means. I think I'm a pretty decent game master, otherwise people would not be coming back and asking for more games. And those of you who have seen some of my Let's Plays and live stream videos of different role-playing games have, I think, a fairly good grasp on the style of games that I do tend to run. What makes the professional game mastering different is that I specifically tailor the games to people's expectations and wishes. And I also, of course, you don't have to be like a close friend of mine to have me run the game for you. And the third thing, I think that probably the biggest thing, is that I am reliable and I am well organized, which is not, to be perfectly honest, not always the case when I run games just for like friends of mine, so to speak. So what do I mean by tailor games to the groups? Generally, if you have an idea for a campaign, it's going to be pretty rare that you sort of show up and say to a game master, oh, I would like to play, I don't know, let's say play a D&D campaign where everyone is mind flayers, all the player characters, and we're hunting for juicy brains or something like that. Most game masters would probably say, okay, yeah, maybe we'll give it a try, but then nothing will come of it. A professional game master will listen to your ideas and say, consider them properly, and then get back in touch with you and offer to run the games in a specific way that suits your purpose and your gaming group. And the other thing that I said, being reliable and better organized, is obviously I run usually campaigns on a bi-weekly basis, which means that I have to have the content prepared, I have to be there on time, I have to have battle maps. If it's a system that uses battle maps, I have to know the rules well and all that. Basically to guarantee a smooth game, that the players can focus on their thing and they don't have to worry about all the other things surrounding them. And in a real life situation where I'm actually playing with people in my gaming room, I also provide snacks and tea and coffee and all that sort of stuff, little things that also character sheets and dice if necessary, and pens and all that sort of stuff that the players then don't need to worry about. About being better organized, by that I mean when running that many games at once, it can quite easily happen that the Game Master does forget things. When I was still running about 2-3 campaigns, I usually was on top of things well enough that I didn't have to make too many notes about the progress of the game. Now I make quite extensive notes of the progress of the game, pretty much I take about half an hour to sometimes an hour after every session, and write a short summary of what happened exactly. And I also usually do things like write a little bit of lore and a little bit of descriptions of NPCs and maybe their motivations, as much as the player characters have figured out anyway, and send them to my players as sort of a reminder what happened during the games, which I think makes for a more cohesive experience. So being organized and reliable, I think, and obviously understanding how to game master and being willing to commit and do it with a passion, despite sometimes feeling demotivated. It does happen with any, I guess, creative job. Sometimes you're just not motivated, but a professional game master, a decent one anyway, needs to push through that sort of thing and not cancel the session short time before that, and still run the game and still do it in a way that the players enjoy it. And now let's come to the last part of this video, which is basically let me know what questions you do have about professional game mastering. Obviously, I can only answer about my own experience, but if you have anything that interests you about how the whole thing works and on any other questions you might have, feel free to post them in the comments. I will do another video in a couple weeks or so, sometime during February, I guess. And we'll address each and every question that is in the comments in detail, if I can, that is. And hopefully we can get a bit of a dialogue going on and dispel this sort of myth of this weird thing which is professional game mastering. And until then, I hope you enjoyed the video and that you have, despite COVID and everything else, have a lot of fun with your own games and stay safe and stay healthy. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks, hopefully at the latest. True Mask Games says thank you for watching, and bye-bye.